everybody. Welcome today. I'm Dr. Maggie Yu. I'm an integrative physician, and today we are talking to Anna. And Anna just is graduating from our online program to transform autoimmune disease naturally. And today we're going to be talking about some of the results and outcome that Anna has gotten and her family has gotten as a result of her going through the program. So all of you that are watching right now, if you could give Anna and myself a thumbs up, a heart, if you can go ahead and put someone's name in the comment section that you want to share this story with that could benefit from having their autoimmune turned around, go ahead and do that right now. So Anna, welcome. Let's have you introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Anna Melton, and I joined this program about 9 weeks ago, and it has been life-changing for both myself and my family.
Can you tell us a little bit, Anna, about what your diagnosis was, if you had one, and what the symptoms were?
Yeah, so the very first diagnosis I received in my 20s after college, and it was endometriosis, and I had been battling that for many years. And then after some more fatigue and feeling like things just weren't right, then I received a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, and have some other things that I know now going on with my thyroid. But yeah, those were the things I'd been battling.
So hormonal symptoms through most of your life, and
Yes.
tons of physical symptoms that later you got the term fibro attached to you.
Mm-hmm.
So some people would say that you were probably walking around without an obvious autoimmune diagnosis. Am I right?
Yes, I hid it for years because I thought maybe, it's because I'm not as active as I used to be, and I tried to, it was before the diagnosis. But yeah, I didn't like labels, and so I hid it as long as I could until I couldn't the last couple of years.
So I think it's really true. One of the biggest points, one of the biggest difficulties people with autoimmune suffer from is it's an invisible illness for many.
Mm-hmm.
Because many of us look absolutely normal on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like you're going through a diagnosis, let's say like cancer, where it's obvious, some people it is, but where your hair is falling out or you're, losing a ton of weight. Many people with autoimmune actually look absolutely normal on the outside. And some would think it's a blessing, but do you think not having a diagnosis and looking normal was a blessing, or was it a curse?
It's definitely a curse, because as things started progressing, being in the same career for 14 years, I was a top performer, climbing up the corporate ladder, and then all of a sudden, like, what's going on? Why are you calling out sick? What's going on? And so, I came clean, but there still wasn't a vast understanding of what limitations this would create during flare-ups.
This is one of the biggest points I noticed, is that there's actually, people aren't aware of the bias that exists when someone looks normal. When someone looks normal and they tell you that there's something wrong with them, it's really common for people to, bias is basically people make very generalized judgments based on very little data.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you right now, many people with autoimmune will, in the workplace, like first time in their career, this happened to me, where you start to call in sick, or you start having brain fog, and you start to make mistakes. And even if you said it was because of some symptom, they start to label you as someone who's faking it or using it as an excuse. Do you feel like, and it's not even necessarily work, it's like your kids will actually start to decrease their trust in you because suddenly mom's having brain fog, mom's fatigued. So it's not just employers, it's doctors has a bias with judgment on you, kids, even your partner, different people around you, your friends, your family could start actually having a bias and making very broad judgments about you based on very little data because you look normal. Did you feel like you experienced that?
I did with, I've been through different rheumatologists. I can recall being told that, you're refusing treatment, which was pain pills, opioids, things that I didn't want in my body. And, I said, there's got to be a natural way to do this. I don't want to put this or be dependent on these things. I have to function. And this is just, I would actually use the terminology Band-Aid. I don't want this. And so I actually had to find another rheumatologist because I was refusing treatment. Or, just in the case of work, you used to be able to do this or do this. And And in my field, I didn't mention it earlier, but just I can't make mistakes. It's a mistake that, regulatory, I would be fired in a heartbeat. So yeah, that got to be really scary, because I thought, wow, I can't even remember what I just did, or my kids were noticing a difference.
And for me, this really boils down to you start losing trust. And not only do you lose trust in your doctors, you could lose trust in your colleagues, you start losing trust in other people's ability to trust you. And ultimately, you lose trust in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I started going, this is not the life that I want. And I know I've shared it with you, but really, everybody hits a rock bottom at some point in your life. And for me, this past Christmas, I couldn't get out of bed. And, my 6-year-old is like, Mommy, why are you always in bed? He was writing, things at school about Mommy's got a bad back, or it's difficult to explain to a 6-year-old what this disease does. And so even to my 6-year-old, I'm trying to kind of say, well, Mommy's just not feeling well. Or he'd say, Mommy takes a lot of naps. My almost 19-year-old, she's just concerned because it is hereditary. And so she's concerned as a ballet dancer how it's going to affect her. So these are all things that, are running through my mind. And as a mother, you feel extremely guilty because, there's a hereditary component and, you want to stop, figure it out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're 2 months out.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, people want to know, what are the outcomes that you've experienced in these 2 months, 2 short months?
Well, I'll tell you, you designed a program that is like nothing else. And I was very drawn to it because you said things that made sense to me. People know their body. They know what it's doing. They know what it's not doing. And I knew there was a hormone component. I knew that I had blood sugar issues, but I didn't know how to fix any of those things. And I went to a doctor once and he said, just eat more, and I'm like, and yeah, you've got hormone issues, so let's give you some more estrogen, and so, I was a problem in any doctor's office, and you described that, and that's where it resonated with me because I was a doctor's nightmare. I would come with my list of questions and I had 15 minutes to get it answered, and I would be given blood tests. And so, in this short time, the outcomes were so amazing if you do the work. And it's not, it's not a Band-Aid. It's something that I can maintain. It's something that makes sense. And you had the support of you. I mean, I've never had access to a doctor where I could talk to them for 2.5 hours a week with everybody else who's feeling the same way, but it was so positive. I've never had access to a nutritionist. I've never had access to a mindset coach. And so these are all pieces of healing, and you have nailed every single component that I needed. And the support group, I mean, I have lifelong friends, and I called her yesterday, and you don't even know this, but I was having a rough day yesterday, just emotionally, right? And she said a prayer, with me. And, she told me, she says, just think of me like the sister you never had. And I certainly did. And that's a friendship that I got from this program.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, physically, can you name 4 or 5 physical symptoms that have really changed?
Well, you have been adamant to help me with my hot flashes are gone. I can sleep. I used to wake up every hour on the hour. I feel healthy because I now understand through the food mapping what things were causing my inflammation. And I just, the thought process, like my thoughts are much clearer. I don't have to have people fill in the blanks or, help me out with a sentence. I can actually speak for myself. But the energy level has been the biggest thing. I just had spring break with the kids, and my husband actually said he couldn't keep up with me, and that's never happened. So it was an amazing spring break.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is within 2 months of starting the program.
Yes.
And how many years do you think you've been suffering from these symptoms for?
Since my late 20s, I'm 45. So many years, progressively getting worse. The worst of it the last 2 years.
You know, Anna, people don't believe that symptoms that they've been suffering from 2 decades
Yeah,
can actually be gone in a matter of 2 months.
they don't. Mm-mm. But it's true. It can happen. And I I believed it because I watched so many videos. I'm a researcher by nature. That's just my personality. And I saw so many testimonies, which is why I wanted to speak, because I want to validate that it works.
Was it? Thank you.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you.
a lot of people look at the results that you've gotten and all the other clients we've worked with, all the testimonials. They feel like looks so miraculous
Mm-hmm.
that they don't believe that it's actually real or possible. And I actually tell people that in the conventional world, where all we do is chase symptoms and never deal with the root causes, where we don't support and educate people in this way, like our program does, it is a miracle. It is impossible. That is true. But the only reason is because they lack the recipe that it takes, a comprehensive recipe for what does it take to actually look and deal with the person as a whole person and what the root causes in dealing with autoimmune.
That's
They
right.
lack the recipe, number one. But number two, they lack the tools.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you look at a clinical setting where you got 15, 20 minutes with a doctor, no matter how many visits you go to, how much you spend, you will never be able to find a protocol or a program where they're using data, they're educating you, the hours of live coaching and building a community around you and friendships for life and changing how you think with mindset work and a mindset coach.
That was huge for me. That was huge for me because some of the thoughts that I had, Maggie, I mean, I shared it with a friend. You know, I said, before this program, I would say to God, you have got to get me out of this, because I'd never take my own life. I'd never do anything like that. But I was okay with, like, if something happened, like, I just felt like a burden. I didn't want to be a burden to work, to my family. And it was in my own mind that I thought that. And that was the lowest. And then I found you. And, you know, I told you, you know, you're the vessel for all of us. And I don't think those thoughts anymore, but I didn't realize, like, how depressed I was, the anxiety. I kept saying, you know, like, I don't even think I can go back to work. You know, I'm back to work. I was giving up on life, you know?
I do know. And, you know, it's interesting. I was just recently on a call with somebody as well. And they're like, why should I believe you?
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is they shouldn't believe me.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, everybody's skeptical. I mean, there's a lot of people who lie and who are dishonest. And we're inundated with internet marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's why for me, it's so important to have real people like you to actually speak about what your journey is. Anna, you're a real person. This is your real name. This is your real Facebook profile. This is, you know, I mean, you're a real person. And so for me, it's like, you don't have to believe me. And in fact, you shouldn't. But at the same time, it's wonderful when someone like you is willing to bear witness and be an honest representation of what the process has been.
Well, it's easy to be skeptical because you think about the journey that most of us have been through for years with doctors who genuinely wanted to help, but didn't have the knowledge or tools to do that. So it's very easy to be like, well, you know, I've tried this, I've tried that, to be in that mindset, because you really do get to that point where you're like, gosh, you know, I want something to work. And I can't tell you exactly what made me, you know, because I am a skeptic by nature. I do research, but, you know, like, I kept listening to testimony after testimony and different types of autoimmune attacks. And I just kept thinking like, wow, you know, she's onto something here, you know, and it aligned with my mindset. I thought, you know, this is what I've always thought. I just didn't know how to put it together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think people need to realize that, you know, I hadn't seen people in months, because quite honestly, I was like in a bed. I had to take a leave of absence. And when they saw me out of this program, you know, our artistic director at the conservatory said, "You look alive. You speak differently." He said, "You don't speak slow. You seem more confident. You have life. Your skin looks amazing. My hair is much better than it was when I started the program," because I was, you know, everything was changing. And he said, "I can't believe, like, I don't even have to say it. People notice the difference." He's like, "You glow, you radiate." So it doesn't even have to be spoken. People who knew me before the program and after and knew I was doing it, they can see the results. I look physically different. The inflammation's down.
So it's not just what you're saying. What you're saying is the feedback from the rest of the world was that they thought you looked normal, but not at all. And the change was just dramatic and visible.
Yeah, I mean, they probably got accustomed to it. Even my OBGYN put me back on the scale. And she's like, "I don't know how you weigh this because you don't look it." And I said, "Well, I don't look at scales anymore. I just look at how I feel."
You mean you lost weight?
Yeah, she could see that I lost weight, and I know I lost weight, but just even the scale, like, she still thought I was less than what it said because the inflammation was gone. And she hadn't seen, you know, it's not too long ago she saw me. So she wanted your information because she's being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease and she can't crack the nut. So she wants to figure out who helped me.
It's really interesting. We actually have, you've witnessed this, we actually have a lot of healthcare professionals in our program.
Yes.
And you're saying you're discerning, you've been doing your research, so do medical providers.
Yes, they do.
And we actually have a lot of clients that are medical, work in the medical field. So we have doctors, we have physical therapists, nurse practitioners. In fact, we have an interview with Robin that's going to be premiering today. And she's a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
So people, this is with people with discernment and people in the know actually know how badly our regular conventional medical system is mistreating people with autoimmune disease.
Yes. Yeah. And I would have to say that, you know, you teach us how to manage our own health. So I never thought through this program that I would know how to read my own results or be able to order my own results or know how to retest. And so the knowledge is incredible, and I always have access to go back to it or new things. And so, you know, that's for any medical profession, I mean, professional, that would be a very big draw to be able to say, okay, now I understand it. Now I know what to test, you know, or all, you know, even if you're not.
Thank you. Love that. My other question, my next question is, was it difficult to you to make a decision to commit to your own health in this way? Because a lot of people struggle with committing to doing something dramatically different like this. They're so used to being sick, they don't realize if you don't make something dramatically to change it, you're guaranteed to live in the hell that you've been and worse the next 2 decades. So why did you make the decision? Why were you able to make the decision to actually invest in yourself and your own health in this way?
Well, I'm going to introduce him, but my husband is a huge support of my health, and I would love him to just be a part of this interview because he is willing to do anything to support me. You want to come over, please?
Brian?
He's willing to support me, and he literally said, "I want my wife back." So it really was a very simple conversation. It was just like, I'm doing this, and that's how our marriage works, right? So he supports me, I support him. It's a very equal relationship, and you know, he supported me in this, and I just said I found something, and he didn't need to do the research. He knows I do it myself. And so he just wanted to be a part of it. And he's supporting me by going gluten-free and finding all the healthy choices for us. And my daughter is, and just, it's been great. It's been nice to be a wife and a mother again.
So what you're saying is that, thank you. Welcome, Brian. And I remember that call, and I remember I remember in that call, I would tell you most people are not willing to commit themselves to a process like this, even for those results as miraculous as these. They're not willing to, because they're scared. They've been burned, right? Mm-hmm. So Brian, I'm going to ask you, what do you think allowed you to make the decision to support your wife in this and to do this together?
I've always supported her in everything she does, but at the same time, it's just that she has been trying to find answers, and she's a researcher, and she just has been trying to find answers for so long, and she's tried a million different things. She's done whatever the doctors have said, short of taking the drugs, and she's tried the diet, she's tried everything, but the thing that appealed to her with you was the fact that it was a holistic approach. It wasn't just about mindset. It wasn't just about your diet. It wasn't just about supplements. It was everything. And she loved that approach, because you can't fix, if your car's having a problem, you just don't go change the battery and think that the transmission is going to run better. Mm-hmm. So the fact that she was fixing everything is really appealed to her, and she was so excited about it. It was a no-brainer for me. I just wanted to make sure that I wanted my wife back, and for her to do something like this that I knew that she was that anxious about doing and really wanted to be involved with it. It was just something I had to do for her.
So Brian, you say you wanted your wife back. I want to ask you, this first time I've asked you this question, is how is your wife back, and how is she back?
Yeah, she is. Just having the energy that she hasn't had in years. Just be able to go out and have weekends back. Nights we have, stressful work things I had at nighttime, so a lot of times we're homebodies. The weekends, just being able to go out and enjoy each other and go out as a family, go to the park, and just play, and just we own a ballet school, and the other day Anna was in there talking to the kids, and she sat down on the floor and was talking to them, and our artistic director said, "Wow, I've never seen you sit on the floor before and be able to just get right back up again." Yeah. And it's only been 2 months. It was just, it's even playing with our son. It's like, well, let's go do the puzzle at the table. Let's go do the puzzle on the bed. Can't do the puzzle on the floor because it's really hard to sit on the floor that long and be able to get back up. And just be able to sit down and have a chat with the teenage girls that were dancing ballet, have time to talk with them, sit on the floor with them was just really miraculous. That was just huge.
Yeah.
Well, I promised I wasn't going to do the ugly cry.
I know.
I'm so happy for you guys. This means the world to me.
It does to us too, because you're the vessel. You get results, and you don't stop until you do. And you're always encouraging the questions and whatever you can do to adjust a situation. You're so open, and you have a heart in this. And I just don't believe you can be in the medical field and not care. We're not numbers. We're human beings that have lives, and we want to live them, and you connect with us.
I think for me, it has to do with my values. I've really worked hard to have my number one value to be about love and connection.
Yeah.
And that's not just for my friends or family. Love and connection is my number one value with which I want to interact with the world, because that brings me joy. And seeing you guys with these results, and seeing Brian say that he got his wife back and the mother of his children back.
Yeah.
Why I do this, because there's a lot of people out there that are just so hard, and they're skeptics, and they're so easy to throw a name on me, or criticize what it is that we did. They don't understand, or they're in pain, right?
Yeah.
So it's understandable, but there's a real person behind this, and it is a mission for me to be able to do this, and it's a joy. And thank you so much.
Yeah.
There's only one you, Maggie. Only one you. People don't realize, like, it's so hard to find.
And the cool part is that her excitement about you is so infectious that say her doctors, our daughter's pediatrician.
Yeah.
He's gotten more into plant-based proteins and things like that. So he believes a lot of what you do. And we talked for hours one night with him. He said, "Oh my God, I'm so happy there's somebody like that out there that's spreading this word." And
Yeah.
he's told me how great she looked. He said, "My gosh," he goes, it's incredible how great you look." And talk about how our daughter Brianna, she's a 19-year-old, be 19 next month, pre-professional ballerina, and she's had problems with stomach pain. And so she's looked at it and taken the same cue and said, "Well, you know what? I'm not eating gluten anymore. I'm cutting back on dairy."
Yeah.
And she's done so much better. And honestly, it's getting so much easier to find gluten-free stuff at our local grocery store at Publix. That it's a no-brainer to go buy gluten-free pasta and things like that because it's healthy for all of us.
It's so interesting because a lot of people say that they don't trust themselves and have the discipline to do all this. But the truth is, I think motive matters and results matter. So if you know that it's a data-driven approach,
Yes.
and there's data to prove why this is effective, and you have outcomes to prove it, it is not willpower. It becomes an internal actual pull to actually do this. And you're influencing, I mean, Anna, a lot of people can't make this commitment to themselves to do this because they say, I have to put my kids, they're going to college, or I'm paying for a wedding, or this, or that. They put everybody else ahead of them, right? Or they feel guilty about how much their husband or the family has spent on their health already, right? So a lot of people say, I can't commit to myself like this because of them. And I have a question for you, because for me, how do we've had this conversation before where you guys thought it is, one of the things we talked about was, I think you affect minimum 3 generations.
Yeah.
Because when you do this for yourself, the generation above you is an autoimmune mess, and you know it. Your generation is affected, you and Brian, but your children, how would it be like to kill Godzilla while he's an egg? How much is it easier to do that than to wait till he's all around town? What do you think the impact of this has been on your family or on your daughter?
I can say, I'll just speak for us, is it's been immeasurable. And people that say, they can't afford it, I would say, how can you not afford it? You can't afford not to. After 2 months to have the results, or just having the answers, and have my wife being who she wants to be again. I mean, she feels human again. She feels like a mom and a wife and a friend. And to have all that back, it's immeasurable. It's just, the term priceless, I guess. Yeah. It's
people spend more on ridiculous things. It's amazing how people justify, and we're in the financial world, and it's not a judgment call for me. I mean, I get it. It's I posted a testimony and people were like, well, it's only for the rich. It's not. This is a program that you spend more trying to get better with the Band-Aids than you do if you would just commit to something that works. And that's my message.
For all the stuff that we spent trying to come up with the answers to get her healthy, the same amount of money is what we use to find the answers.
Right.
And that it's something that you can't stop and put a price tag on.
No.
To know that we've done all this research and all the doctor's appointments and all the different crazy diets, everything else we've tried for so long to get her right again. And it happened within 2 months with just great education of somebody like you that's done the research and you've got the medical power to do that. And you're just able to share your knowledge with us, and it helped so much. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
What do you think is one outcome that you've noticed even in your daughter? What is tell me one outcome or one little story about what difference you're seeing in your daughter.
I think her stomach pain is gone. She's had a lot of problems with her stomach pain. And I think just she could never figure it out. She didn't know what it was. We could say, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. And she started getting into eating gluten-free. Her favorite things in the world are pasta and cheese. She stopped eating cheese and she's eating gluten-free pasta. She finds gluten-free options, and she's finding coconut milk yogurt instead of going out and getting dairy. So she's finding non-dairy options. And she goes, it's easier to find things like that when you actually look for them, because before you think, well, gosh, I'm going out and getting gluten-free. This is crazy, gluten-free. Well, what's so bad about eating a cheese or a hamburger without the bun and bacon? And I mean, it's just the crazy thing is you're still eating the same thing and it doesn't taste any different.
No.
And that was what the cool part was, the little selfish side of me. was, hey, I get to eat some really cool stuff and not worry about, eating things in front of her, because the same things that I like, she likes too.
And I think, I've been an example for the kids. Like my little 6-year-olds running around going, Mommy, this is gluten-free. This is gluten-free in the store. Like he asked me, he's like, does it make you feel bad? And I said, yeah. And I used to say, like, if there was multiple things that would help this, I'll do anything. Like, why would you want to put that in your body? And that's just a starting point for us. We all knew that entering the program, that's where we go. But I guess, I've been an example for my kids to want to do it. I never asked them to do it. I never asked them to change. They did it because they supported me and they saw the results.
Did they see results in them? Like for her now, is it a internal pull now to do it because of the outcomes, results she has experienced? Let me ask.
Absolutely. Who wants pain?
She knows it's hereditary also, so she figures if she changes her habits now as a young lady, it's going to be able to help her, and she said, I want to pass this along to my children. So if I can learn this now, that I don't have to pass this along to them.
Yeah.
That they can start off life the right way and not be affected and have to learn it the hard way.
And my mom is doing it too. Mom has a fibromyalgia and lupus, so, she's like, I'll learn from you. So I've been a teacher to my mom. It's kind of been a reverse, relationship, which has been kind of fun.
I love this because I tell people it affects 3 generations minimum. And a lot of people say, I can't do this because of them. And I can already tell you, you're an example of, if you can't even do it for yourself, would you, based on the results on your family members alone, would you do this for them?
Oh, absolutely. When I joined the program, my mom was 100% behind me. And she's like, I'm so happy that you can help our family. Because my brother has it too. He has RA, this runs so crazy. My grandmother had it, so what you're saying is so true. My grandma had lupus, and, like we all have something. And so, it's in my DNA to want to help others. So if you're struggling with doing it for yourself, do it for your family. Your family wants you back. Your family wants a mother. They want a friend. They want, to be a wife. I mean, they want all those things for you. So if you're struggling with doing it for yourself, do it for the people who love you.
Brian, have you gone on a date with Anna recently?
I guess you could call it like our love is like the Grand Prix. Like we got to hang out with the racer because one of the racers' daughter dances with us. So like we got to experience a whole weekend of fun and a little bit of sunburn, but that was our first kind of date with each other. That was fun. I mean, I like races, it's kind of a crazy thing, but I like IndyCar.
Brian, it's obvious to me, like the kind of connection that you two have.
Yeah.
And what is it like to actually be able to reconnect with your beautiful wife while she's experiencing joy?
In May, we celebrate 22 years together. We were that couple that when we first got together, everybody said they wanted to be like us because we communicated, we clicked, everything just seemed natural for us. We got engaged 10 weeks after we met.
Yeah.
We got married 6 months later. So before we celebrated our first anniversary of knowing each other, we were already married and, had honeymooned and been through the first 3 or 4 months of marriage before we even got to that point. And over the last couple of years, it's just been, I guess, in that thing we don't talk about, but I felt like drifting apart. And
we didn't talk, we didn't communicate.
There's things that she didn't want to talk about it because she didn't want to put the burden on, so she didn't want to say how bad it was affecting her, and I knew it was affecting her, so I didn't want to bring it up, so we just kind of didn't talk about it or talk really a lot. And there were times she couldn't get out of bed, so I was like, well, I gotta take care of the kids, so I was doing that, and while she was laying in bed, so that kept us apart also. And just recently having her back like this, it's been incredible because now we're with the, it's like we want to go do stuff with the kids. It's like, so it's having that connection back with my wife and also the mother of my kids. So it's the fact that we're back together as a family is even more important than having, well, not more important, but it's also important because, having us together again is great, but also having the kids with us again as a family unit again is really awesome.
Yeah, and he took on a lot of responsibility. You know, he was doing it all. He was cooking all the meals, doing all the laundry, working 2 jobs, you know, because we opened a nonprofit because that was our dream, but I was absent, you know, I wasn't involved in enough of it. And so he literally, and it killed me to watch him killing himself, staying up all night, you know, working the other dream that we had that I just couldn't participate in, you know. And so it was a lot of guilt on me. And I think I pushed him away and stopped communicating because of the guilt.
I think when you operate not out of guilt anymore, but out of actually true wellness, true changing of how you think, and really is actually experiencing joy, you freaking get your life back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations to the two of you for making the decision and commitment to this, and not just as you and an individual, Anna, but having your partner Brian to support you and your entire family along with this journey. You've affected 3 generations, so congratulations to you two and all the different generations of your family and all the people that your nonprofit affects.
Mm-hmm.
This is changing the world. You guys are world changers. Thank you so much for being honest and being on this with me.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You know, it makes it so easy to do that, because there's kids that, you know, like I know a student that has Hashimoto's, Maggie, and, you know, I'm going to send her to you.
Thank you.
She's a 17-year-old beautiful ballerina, and Hashimoto's has almost destroyed her career.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just at 17. What's it going to look like when she's 35, 40?
Exactly.
Well, we know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Let's say no to that at 17.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say no to that at 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, people think they can't commit to something. It's like, what can't you commit to having a better life?
Yeah.
I mean, we've gone from committing ourselves to where we're at, of being this couple that everybody wanted to be, and everybody wanted to have what we had, and to the point where somebody didn't even like each other, honestly. It was just like, you're on my nerves, you're on my nerves. We just stayed apart from each other. And
hormones aren't very nice sometimes.
Well, that was a quick turnaround.
Yeah, he's very happy about that change.
I love it. Thank you so much, you two. And for those of you that are watching that want to learn more about the program that Anna and her family went through, you can learn more at drmaggieyu.com. Watch our online training and get on the call with us, because this is not a transaction. This is a relationship. We need to talk to you, get to know you, understand what the problem is, to actually talk about how we can help you. So watch the training, get on a phone call with us, and congratulations to the Melton family for getting your life back. And thank you for being an inspiration to all the people watching right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.